I find this to be the hardest question to find a compelling answer to. I've had some like rough ideas, but mostly I kind of have no idea. So it's a two-part question. And the first part's kind of easy, but it's the second part that's the hard part. So the question is, what role did the Harbinger of Fate play? And why did defeating it create the alternate worlds as is implied? So it seems pretty clear that the point of the Harbinger of Fate, the big dark side that we defeated at the end of Remake, was to basically give the Whispers their prerogatives, their instructions to make sure that the flow of time was fixed, and in OG FF7 happens every time because that's a sequence of events that leads to the planet flourishing and Sephiroth being defeated. And then when you defeat the Harbinger of Fate, the Whispers now have no master, and Sephiroth's like, scoop, and now Sephiroth controls the Whispers, and maybe Aerith controls some white ones, yada yada. But Sephiroth says in Rebirth, what's the term? He says when the bounds of fate are breached, new worlds are born.
Yes.
Pretty straightforward. He's Sephiroth. He could be lying, but seems like an info dump scene, so I'm kind of just taking it at face value. Plus, as soon as you defeat the Harbinger of Fate, Zack's fate changes. So, seems pretty clear that defeating the Harbinger of Fate has something to do with these, what we all seem to agree are life stream worlds, now manifesting and being able to be potentially drawn from to override reality with merge worlding and whisper powers and stuff, which is kind of the next question. And I don't really know the answer to this at all. If it turns out that the bubble worlds, the dream worlds are not POV, not character centric, like if it was just streams of the planet, then I could see, oh, well, destiny is breached, and now the planet has memories of infinite time loops, meaning all potentials. But I do think they're POV worlds, in which case it's like, I guess they could be memories of multiple time loops from POVs, but I think that's kind of like convoluted. And so I'm more curious to just sit and listen to what y'all have to say about this. Why did defeating the Harbinger of Fate create these alternate worlds?
I raised my hand, but I feel like I'm just biting off the entire subject. So somebody else jump in, and I'll jump in after.
Although it might not be the most satisfying answer, a little bit, only in terms of, as we've talked about, like, what are the worlds, right? And I think we all had a definition and description of them that were compelling, right? I understand that. For example, that they are memories that live on and sort of create maybe even bubble realities in which, whether it happened or not, it's legitimized by the live stream. And, I kind of understand that. Why we had to defeat the Harbinger of Fate happen or manifest, it just seems like if the live stream just treats memories this way, then it should be treated that way regardless of what happens to the Harbinger of Fate. But it seems like there is some Pandora's box that is opened by defeating the Harbinger of Fate. And so I don't really have a great answer as to why the Harbinger of Fate was there, what exactly it was sort of like stopping. Potentially just making sure that actions happen the way they were supposed to, and thus limiting the number of spin out worlds. But I don't know. So I guess I might have a smarter answer after these other two guys talk.
Do you want to go, Clark?
No, I want you to go.
Okay. So I think one of the most telling parts of the game is the singularity in Remake, because the devs did end up talking about it quite a bit after several Ultimanias, and they separate after that the Whisper Harbinger is defeated, that you have the conflict with Sephiroth that represents the world of the life stream and the world of Meteor. And I've been very keyed into that particular conversation, like from before the idea of, multiple worlds, but as subtext sort of already led on, and I completely agree with it, which is that the sort of hub of of the battle is the Beagle timeline / world. But if you guys play Remake again, as soon as the Whisper Harbinger is defeated, a white wind appears and teleports the party to the pool of water that they end up standing on, which Sephiroth then confronts them in. Is as soon as the Whisper Harbinger is defeated, the sort of Pandora's box, I think, is opened, which is why I think that scene is so chaotic, is that this is sort of the epicenter of multiple realities being created, or different directions, like sort of manifesting at this point. So it's sort of the meeting in the middle for then the convergence and divergence to happen. So this is one instance of convergence. I think another instance of convergence happens to be Aerith's death. So this also seemingly lands on emotional beats or moments of extreme importance for the characters, and how integral they are to the function of the rest of the world, because certain events have to happen in a certain way or play out in a certain way. So I think to answer the question is that Whisper Harbinger was exactly what we know the Whispers to be, is a gatekeeper to Aaron worlds being created. And once you cross the boundaries of fate, which is essentially defeating the Harbinger and passing the Destiny's crossroads, does that happen? So in order to do that, they had to beat the Whisper Harbinger to then sort of end up where they are. But in that same thought, then you have to start considering that Aerith and Sephiroth already seem to be able to defy the Whispers before the game even starts. Like, the Whispers can't touch Sephiroth. So one of the things that you can probably pick up from that is that they already have a sort of fateless heir to their sort of power, in terms of their, not their physical presence, but to their sort of presence in the life stream. So perhaps Sephiroth has already kind of crossed that boundary in a certain way using something before, the story of Remake starts, which might also lend itself to sort of looking at Tifa livestream sequence again, and also Aerith in Advent Children and after Rebirth.
Okay. I mean, I think I pretty much agree. I think for me, that we were baited into breaking the memories of the planet. That we were that the live stream is the mechanism by which the planet protects itself, and the Harbinger was a manifestation of the destiny mechanism of the live stream. Like, all life is governed by the live stream. So weapons are manifestation of the live stream. Life is a manifestation of the live stream. So the Whispers are that too. I do have a theory about who specifically the memories in the live stream of the Whispers are.
Take it home.
But we'll get there later. I think that the reason that the Harbinger looks like a weapon, has like weapon vibes, and why the Whispers have Cetra vibes, is because this is something the Cetra, as the arbiters of the live stream, as like the sort of end game evolutionary protector of the live stream, they were given this role to protect its future and everything like that. So I think that's why we see all the robed figures in the Temple of the Ancients and all the murals. Those robed figures end up getting emulated and overtaken and eaten by Jenova and corrupted when the Great Calamity comes down 2,000 years prior. And so I think the reason why the Sephiroth clones look like that is it's a perversion of that, and like a amelioration of that. And so I do think that there's some form of missing piece to the lore that will get explained in the third part. Like, they've set up exposition for what the Whisper Harbinger was, who the Cetra are in relationship to the Whispers, etc. And that once that happens, more of that will be clear. But from a functional perspective right now, defeating that Harbinger created these fractured worlds. And it's that simple. It created these fractured live stream segments. We broke apart the live stream because we broke apart a Harbinger of it, and so once that cracked and it made some of those bubble universes that were created, bubble live streams, ripe for the taking for Sephiroth. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I agree. There's a large chance that part 3 is going to add a piece to the puzzle of the Harbinger, because as is, and I don't know if part of this is sort of like creative little retcons and stuff as far as what they have added to the lore with Rebirth, but initially Harbinger essentially just being the controller of the Whispers, it seems like there's got to be a little bit more to it. I'm curious, very curious.
I definitely think just the preface that Rebirth is already set up, and even what Clark has already mentioned. We and I've mentioned this in prior videos myself, but the aspect of that conversation will come up during the weapon discussion, if anywhere, because there is very large correlations between those concepts, and it's almost naturally that even if they don't over-explain the Harbinger bit, which I think that it kind of exists fine, that you don't necessarily need to. All you need is just more concept of like the world function, and just knowing that the planet can manifest these sort of guardians to protect itself in one way or another. Will probably, I'm sure what they'll probably do is they'll probably incorporate some familiar aspects of the Whispers designs and the Harbinger designs into the weapons to perhaps create that correlation a little bit better.